Alan here with another modelling video looking at a new line of wargaming miniatures, Dystopian Wars. A very quick look in the backstory and the concept. Dystopian Wars is a steampunk miniature wargame published by Spartan Games. It is set in an alternative timeline in the year 1870. The figures are based in massive 1/1200 scale figures, and they're quite cheap by being mostly cast in resin and partly or sometimes pewter metal. Just an attempt to try something new, I purchased the Japanese Takahashi Heavy Walker. It comes with two option parts on the actual mech itself of a command tower that looks like a Shinto shrine or a massive gun turret. Being resin pieces, I do warn that cleaning off of release agent is required, and also care taken when sanding and cutting to make sure you wear a respirator. But these pieces are pretty well cast, so very little work will be required, mostly on the metal pieces. The removal of sprue and injection mark on pewter metal isn't dangerous or hard at all. It's quite a soft metal, and nipper's knife and sandpaper can fix any flash or problems you do have. The resin is very soft and brittle, so extreme care when cutting not to damage the surface, and again, of course, wearing your respirator. For larger sections of metal that you do have to cut, you're more advised to use wire cutters over side cutters to prevent damage to your regular tools. As plastic cement does not work on non-styrene surfaces, you will have to use two-part epoxy or super glue to glue pieces together. In this build, I fully intend in magnetizing the two top pieces to the bottom piece for interchanging if I were to field this in an army. Once built, and when you're going to paint your miniature, they're going to be handled a lot if you are to game them, so priming is extremely important, and something that has an etching property or can attach itself to metal. This is normally indicated on the bottle or can that you purchase. You're also advised to use a lacquer based primer. Tamiya or Mr. Hobby Goonsey are two very good brands that will allow all the detail to come through. When I think of wargaming, I think of all those beautifully built dioramas and terrain boards that you do field your miniatures on, as well as giving your model an atmosphere on the existing board that they do stand on to prevent touching of the figure and more of the base. Do not fear if you wish to invest a lot of effort, time or product into these bases. They are well worth it. I honestly do love working on it. Just a bit of PVA glue, sand, rocks and a bit of dry brushing of acrylic paints for just something that's remotely effective. Flock always enhances it as well. Don't forget to add anchor points for your model to be mounted and glued onto the base. Once primed, we have to get down to painting, and traditionally airbrushing, unless on very large vehicles, is difficult. Most people resort to spray cans to give their models a base coat, and the rest are attempted in hand painting. Water-based acrylics are extremely popular for figures. They blend easily, but I find them to be quite fragile when you're handling it unless you're using quite a bit of top coat. With this particular kit, I've used a lot of enamel. These size miniatures always benefit with coloured washes being applied. Hand painting should be attempted with well sharp tipped and well kept paintbrushes. As a fan of large scale items in a small model and steampunk, I thoroughly enjoyed painting the details of these miniatures. I went for a lot of metal and World War II colour scheme. A lot of these dystopian war figures are quite epic, including flying aircraft carriers, war balloons, land ships, massive epic battleships that sort of resemble an ironclad, and tanks as far as the eye can see. These miniatures are quite wonderful, very well sculpted. I highly recommend them with their amazing detail. This is a very new line, and from what I've heard, it's the flavour of the month in the wargaming community. I hope you've enjoyed this review and may get an interest in trying out a few of these figures. Thank you very much, and until next time, one last final tip: if you are painting these figures for gaming, apply quite a few top coats of clear paint to give it extra protection when handling, especially on metal parts. Catch you later.